What planet is this? You're not on the body. What planet is this? You're not on the body. Gotta get nasty. I'm gonna leave. You're not on the body. Nasty. I'm gonna leave. I'm a surgeon, not a psychiatrist. What planet is this?
When a man of Scotty's years falls in love, the loneliness of his life is suddenly revealed to him. His whole heart once throbbed only to the ship's engines. He could talk only to the ship. Now he can see nothing but the woman.
Dr. McCoy is correct, Captain. There is an identity of minds taking place between the alien beings and the mind of Lieutenant Romaine. Their thoughts are becoming hers.
You can't be from Zetar. All life was destroyed there long ago.
Yes, all corporeal life was destroyed.
Then what are you?
The desires, the hopes, the mind, and the will of the last 100 of Zetar. The force of our life could not be wiped out.
The price of your survival is too high.
We only want the girl.
You can't have her. You're entitled to your own life, but not another's.
We've done it, Jim. They're gone.
Okay.
We're live.
So, hello, Rizzy.
Campbell, this is easy.
All right. Way to muster enthusiasm. Hello, as well, Phil. And this is the Red Hour. And today we're doing The Lights of Zetar.
Yeah.
Let's see. Season 3, episode 18. And you know what? I always give Zetar a bad rap. And if I've ever said anything in the past against Zetar, I apologize. And I withdraw in full. And in my mind, in my defense, I was probably thinking of the Mark of Gideon. I probably always, in my mind, get the episodes confused. The Lights of Zetar is not really that bad. There's some problems, but you know what? It's okay.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. We're like what's his name, McCoy and Spock at the end of that episode where they're agreeing. Because
It's not. It's and don't give it. It'll probably be for entirely different ideological reasons, but maybe not. I guess we'll find out.
No, I also just was like dreading watching this, but now I'm like, man, this is quite good.
Okay, so why were you dreading it?
Because I was dreading it because I remembered it as being sort of just like Scotty and this girl, some sort of human relationship. The whole episode.
Human relationships.
Yeah, which I wasn't into, but no, there was like tons of stuff happening and some sort of plot ensued, and I was actually I'd forgotten a lot of it, so I was actually kind of like, oh, what happens next? Which is a very fucking rare thing when you watch this stuff over and over again.
Yeah, and you don't remember, and it's true. I did have that feeling a bunch of times, even though I kind of knew, but still, it's aspects of it still came as a surprise to me, which is interesting because it's just, yeah, it is always conveniently forgotten, and I think unfairly so, as I think we'll explore. But
Yeah.
you normally do the recap, so do you want me to take it off your shoulders for once?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
I normally just stick you with it just to make you squirm, but okay, so they are what the fuck is the recap? What goddamn happens in that episode? Oh yeah, they're going to Memory Alpha to basically help them do their backup, and Memory
Yeah,
Alpha
which
is
is
like
cool.
a computer
Which is
bank.
cool.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's
That
totally
already
cool,
is
totally
cool.
valid. Yeah, it's like story checks out. That's the kind of honest. That's like it's like interstellar, not interstellar, but intrastellar infrastructure building that I think we need to focus on as a society if we're going to bring ourselves up. Like nice, sensible, stable programs like Memory Alpha, taking all the collective knowledge and putting it in an asteroid somewhere. Even though it's not the best plan, I mean, clearly, but it's I appreciate the sentiment of it, if not its execution.
Yeah.
So they're going to Memory Alpha to help them back up, basically. And on their way there, they see this storm approaching. There's something they think is a storm initially, although they're very quickly told that it can't be a naturally occurring phenomenon because it's moving faster than the speed of light. And what it is, it's just some twinkly lights. It's for lack of a better word, let's call them the lights of Zetar. And the ship.
Actually, initially, Campbell, it was like bordered.
I mean, yeah, but
like
I don't know.
line.
I mean, okay, fine, but I don't care. B, I don't trust these new special effects. I want to see what the original episode was. I'll go back and rewatch the original episode at some point, maybe. But anyway, yeah. So they encounter the lights of Zetar, and the lights of Zetar converge with them, and everyone's like kind of paralyzed, or at least effectively paralyzed. And I guess we've already buried the lead here, but the young new. I don't want to say officer. I guess she's not an ensign. Is she a cadet? Is she a trainee? Mira.
She's a lieutenant. Everyone's a lieutenant.
Well, no. Are you sure? Did you hear them say that? Because they also said she hasn't finished her Starfleet training, so that doesn't make sense.
No, they definitely said it. She's a lieutenant. Everyone is a fucking lieutenant.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, well, whatever. I've got that may be so, but I still got issues with it.
It's the shittiest rank to have because everybody is it.
Well. I mean, not everyone, but yeah, certainly most people.
Lieutenant,
but they're probably inconsistent with
Lieutenant Commander, that can be slightly higher. Okay, fine. But most people are just lieutenant.
Or commander. But anyway, so my point is, so the lights of Zetar, basically, we got a close zoom in, zoom into her eye, and the lights of Zetar enter her eye, and she becomes infected with the lights of Zetar or something, whatever. And then they don't really notice. They don't know what happened. No, she passed out. She passes out, but everyone else is like somewhat affected. But among the whole crew, she's the only one who passes out. So they naturally send her to sick bay, and we're yada yada over the whole romance aspect. But let's power through that and let's deal with that in its course. So they get to Memory Alpha. They find the memory deleted, and the operators of Memory Alpha basically dead. And one of them just alive for a second as she dies. She kind of her voice gurgles in the same way that Lieutenant Romaine gurgled as well when the lights were in her eyes, which I forgot to mention earlier. But anyway, and so then they are beset again with the weird storm, or the lights, as it were. The storm comes back, and then it becomes a process of both evading the lights of Zetar and figuring out what they are. And it turns out in the end, they're the disembodied consciousness of a long dead race from a long dead race from a planet somewhere who were just like floating around the cosmos looking for bodies to inhabit. And they tried to inhabit Lieutenant Romaine, but they found themselves only partially able, and they kept killing people in the attempt. So eventually, they try to reason with them. Kirk does, and the crew very, very, I would say, diplomatically and very, very proactively. But in the end, it doesn't really prove to be successful. They have to go the route of they have to use the stick, and they basically subject Lieutenant Romaine to like inhumane. Like torture until the lights leave of their own accord, and they're able to be like, I guess, banished or like destroyed, basically. And in essence, Kirk is basically committing genocide, although it's a debatable point, seeing as their physical bodies were already dead.
That's interesting, because I just thought like they ejected them back into space, and they're like, let someone else deal with those fucking homicidal lights.
I mean, I definitely think it was a kind of let's let someone else deal with it. But it's true, it wasn't made clear, but I kind of get the impression that they were like being destroyed.
That's cool. But
That's cool,
actually, it's not bad.
But anyway, yeah, and that so then presumably Lieutenant Romaine is freed from her possession or otherworldly alien possession, and they go about their way, and probably yada yada that time where they killed an entire species. But anyway,
okay, let's break it down.
All right.
So. First off, yes, it was more interesting than I thought it would be, and the whole like Scotty romance was like a somewhat
that was appalling. I don't know about you, but I found it interminable and made me want to take my own life. Made me think violent, unhealthy thoughts.
Yeah.
How much did you love the opening monologue, which is the ship's log, where like Kirk goes on a full poetic sort of spree, like truly where his heart used to throb only for the ship, now he sees this woman,
only the woman. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
official log. Actually, note that time,
Edson.
Like why?
I don't. It's weird. It's like I think. It's like if you're going to write him up in the official record, do so. But I don't know. I don't think that kind of sentiment. Well, whatever. I guess it's his own fucking log. We can do what he wants.
No, I like the idea that this is just the way the military logs in Starfleet are.
Yeah, no, it is.
And
yeah,
that people are just like, man, these crazy deep sea captains, they write some crazy shit. By the way, notice none of the log entries had anything useful for the occurring events afterwards. But we do know that Scotty was in love.
Well,
and then something happened, something, alien race destroyed.
That's true. Yeah, Rusi does raise a good point that the fucking love aspect actually was critical. Not just the fact that he's like a horny sea captain type who's like,
but he sort of knew that going into it. He's like, this might come up later, but our first engineer is in love, and we think it's a weakness. We will exploit it.
Well, I mean, it's I find it weird in no matter how you cut it. I find it weird because it's just to my mind it's both kind of like weirdly too personal. It's also wildly unprofessional, and it's like it's just not functionally practical. And I also think it also shows like just like their attitude as a whole is weirdly regressive towards women and also her specifically in this episode, just because of the way it's constantly framed. I don't know. It's weird because I think there's a lot of good intent in the script, and I think the script is probably really good.
Except like literally right after that poetry, it's Sulu and Chekhov going back and forth saying like, didn't think Scotty liked brains. I don't think he's noticed her brains. And you're just like, what?
And there was a lot of stuff like that, right? It's like about the double standards. Well, it was bad banter, but I think it probably served a purpose because like they were trying to draw sort of attention to the female perspective, because I don't know if you noticed, this episode was co-written, and if I'm to be believed, I think also written in whole probably by Sherry Lewis and her husband, but yeah, it was her idea, and she was pitching it for a while to the studio heads, and they rejected the first idea, and they pitched them another one. Because she was such a fan and she wanted to be involved with it, and they went for by the time she got around to pitching the first one, they're like, oh well, whatever, we'll do the first one. So they end up doing it, and she wrote the part of Mira in mind with her, but of course, as anyone probably would if they were young and in that part of their career, but of course the executives didn't go with it, and they went with still a fine choice. But anyway, yeah, so I thought that was really weird. So Sherry Lewis of Lamb Chop fame, having written.
Oh, sorry, what?
That's when I don't know when you didn't call me on that, when you didn't make fun of me for just like a name insertion, I assumed you knew who I was talking about.
Well, Sherry Lewis. I happened to see who wrote the episode at the beginning of this.
But you just didn't know who Sherry Lewis was.
No, I have no.
So she's the ventriloquist, puppeteer / children's entertainer, and also writer of Lamb Chop. That's like a student. I'm going to point. That's just my hand, so it's not really. But it's like you know how puppets work. I don't have to explain.
A puppet show. She hosts a puppet show for kids.
She did like a long-standing puppet show that again you've got to be from some kind of weird, especially obscure and darkened Martian rock to not know that. We do have a lamb chop doll somewhere around, but
Yeah, that's
whatever.
okay.
I'm not gonna get it down. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah,
Okay,
again
so
another. So yeah, I just thought that was interesting because I think it was very much written from the perspective of being a woman, but I think in the process of being passed through all these men that definitely sort of added additional elements to it, but make it an interesting story from the perspective of like being a woman. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, it was just really like consistently all throughout. They don't refer to her by her name really or her rank. It's always girl. It's always the girl. It's like always like how is the girl doing? And it's not as though like
no,
they
that's,
show.
that's false. That's false. In fact,
What do you mean
at
that's
some
false?
point, I'm just saying it's hokum.
It's not. It's not 100%. Did you not remark on how many times they use that?
No,
It was a
because
lot.
Scotty always called her Mira, and Kirk even occasionally was like, because like he would say Mira's fine, and he's like, you mean Lieutenant Romaine? Kirk was adamant about calling her Lieutenant Romaine.
Except for all the times where he just called her the girl. So did Bones and.
Maybe like once or twice, but when he was referring
No, not once. I'm not going to go back and anyway. Only if you force my hand. But anyway,
right,
it was
fine.
pervasive. It was pervasive and impossible not to notice. And I think and I'd like and I don't know. It's like it just seemed, but also from the perspective of the of the writing, you see, kind of like another episode which should spring to mind, but I can't recall. It's just basically like the automatic erasure of the female experience under the assumption that basically what their experience is like some kind of low grade hysteria and they're too emotional and they can't be trusted, but just like their opinions are automatically discounted. Is it shore leave? I think it's probably shore leave. And only when like, a male crew member of lesser or equal or greater rank brings it up. Are they like, oh, it's like I guess she wasn't lying or completely mistaken earlier?
Okay,
But
then
it's only they basically just they
not
discount her entirely, and so it's like it's very much like erasure of her will and agency, and like sort of like basically and of course also like the utilization of her very person as like a mechanism around which the plot gravitates. But obviously that's that's tale as old as time. But anyway, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, okay. First of all, like any of these episodes that try to delve into a character other than the top three, generally I think fails.
Why do you think that?
Well, like Scotty, he's not a good character. Like there's nothing particularly interesting about him.
This is true.
He likes he has talked.
He has a massive fuck up.
He talks with a Scottish accent. He likes his engines. He likes his ship, but he's not like. He's just not interesting. Neither basically all the secondary characters except for Uhura.
No, I like Uhura. I like Sulu. I don't even I don't even mind Chekhov that much. He's just like Chekhov's a bit of a fuck up. Scotty's just too much of a massive fuck up. He's just unprofessional. He's got he's got a massive drinking problem that's out of control that he never really gets under control, and I don't believe he should be serving aboard the Enterprise or indeed any ship, because he can't be counted on to prioritize the crew above the ship. No, I'm just ragging on him, but anyway, he's just too in general unprofessional.
Yeah, but it just in terms of acting ability, I don't think any of them are really all that good, except for McCoy, Spock, and Kirk, and Uhura, I think. So anyway, so basically, like I find it, never that engaging when they explore one of these other characters. And actually, like Scotty, they've given him like a few love interests, like because he also had when he murdered, or he was the Jack the Ripper stand-in.
Yeah, but that was,
and then he also fell in love with the girl during the.
That was fleeting.
Who Mourns for Adonis? No, I'm talking about that.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, remember he anyway. So multiple times they've tried to have him sort of like fall in love with some girl. Same with Chekhov, and anyway, always falls flat, always uninteresting. I mean, obviously I have affection for Scotty because he's like one of the crew. And so I'm always kind of like,
I don't want him to die.
Yeah. But these relationships never seem to go anywhere. Anyway, that part of the episode I think was a failure, but I can understand, that they're trying to like get you to be interested in some of the other characters, but it's just not an ensemble cast, really. It's all the other characters are bit players except for the main three. So that I think was a bit of a waste of time. Especially because you're like, you know, you're just sort of like, man, what does this girl see in like a walking stereotype? Like Scotty is like super two dimensional. Like what do they talk about on dates? It just wouldn't work.
Well, I
So
mean, just we never see Scotty's personality, but we have to infer that he has one. It was just never on display. But it's like unfortunately the case with a lot of Star Trek secondary characters. But I mean, I don't know. It's like, maybe they had something between them, but the point is, well, I don't know. Well, like you said, I don't like seeing relationships on the TV at all. Even if in this case they are crucial and somewhat contingent for the actual execution of the plot.
no, but even like in Star Trek V, they tried to do a romance between Scotty and Uhura, which was ill-advised. But
That's true.
there's something like believable about Uhura because Uhura occasionally she just chimes in with like her thoughts and her feelings, and they're serious. Whereas like Scotty, nothing he ever says is serious. Everything is basically like a caricature,
melodramatic.
Like
yeah.
yeah.
Overconfident or complaining.
Yeah, basically just just not realistic stuff. So anyway, all that to say, that was a bit of burn time, time focusing on Scotty. But the episode was decent plot wise. I'm trying to think if like the concept was unique and interesting because they use it in like other they use it in TNG and other things where there's like
what do you mean like the random not random but like diffuse energy being inhabits the body of a crew unwillingly and takes over them.
Yes, and even like a dead society because wasn't that in TNG when they
power play?
Yeah.
And like what else? Shit.
Yeah.
There's also no. Anyway, whatever.
Well, doesn't really matter. But yeah. So anyway, like I guess it was a pretty good concept. They didn't really explore like the story of this dead like when they referred to Zetar, like how is it they knew anything about Zetar? I guess it's a star they know something about or whatever, and like.
I guess it was just implied that it was just like a local star that they knew about, and and whatever. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's written the way it's written, and maybe you can never tell how it's going to come across until you see it performed. But I thought it was weird how the Zetarians or whatever were like explicitly, it's like, we come from a dead world. It's like the world of Zetar. And it was, I forget, it was a Kirk or Spock. It's like, that world's dead. It's like, you can't possibly come from there because nothing comes from there. And they're like, and if I were them, I would have said, it's like, we just told you that we were, anyways.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was kind of obnoxious, but whatever. Yeah. No, I mean, I could have done a little bit more with that, but I like how they just like, they teased it enough. I mean, well, whatever. Let's be honest. I don't care about the Zetarians, and you don't care about the Zetarians. Not really. Like I don't care what their story is. What I'm interested in is like whether or not they're virtuous or they're good or they're willing to like sacrifice themselves or and it's like the whole thing the whole question that Star Trek's always trying to weigh is like, is it possible that like under certain conditions, the life of X would be worth more than the life of Y,
Yeah, so and I'm puzzled by that calculus because this was the last 100 people of a dead race.
Yeah.
And Kirk was basically saying that like, yeah, one of my crew members is more valuable than that, which is I can understand from like a Picard sort of like black and white morality point of view that sort of like we will not sacrifice one life for no matter for how many whatever. But there should be like a protocol. Like, I mean, everybody
a protocol of deciding of haggling on the price of what a human life is worth.
Yeah, at this point they should have one. No,
I think they're wise to stay out of that.
No, because like how many episodes do they say my crew is willing to die for like a good
whose
cause.
Lives?
But doesn't Picard say in one of the episodes? I can't remember who he's facing, but they're like, you're going to sacrifice everybody, and he's like, if the cause is just, we're ready to lay down our lives. So presumably they should have at least asked her, as a Starfleet officer, being like, listen,
no,
like,
I think they kind of did.
But do you want to sacrifice your life for like basically to save an entire species? It's
and I think that's what Kirk did. I think he put it in her hands and he let her decide, and I think she seriously thought about it and was like, no, I choose to assert myself and I want to live. And I think she in her declaration of autonomy, she made the decision for Kirk, because I think there is a real possibility that Kirk would have been okay with it on a certain level if she had, because it's a little bit laterally kind of like the Changeling, right? The Changeling,
You're talking about Nomad?
No, shit, you're right. The Changeling, Metamorphosis with Zephyr from Cochrane.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And he willingly cohabited with that alien.
It was like, and it was a tactical. It wasn't like one life, weighed against another. Exactly. It was a tactical compromise. It was like, it was a sacrifice.
Okay,
but,
Campbell,
but that's not the same.
Campbell, putting you on the spot, would you give your life to save another species?
Tough call. It would really depend on the species, honestly. I definitely, in some cases, yeah. I mean, and at certain points in my life, definitely, because okay.
You used to believe in stuff?
Well, I mean, yes, as it turns out, I do believe in stuff. And you know what? I think you do too. And I was going to wait until like maybe the end and like spring this on you, but I think maybe there's no time like the present. Rusi, is it okay if we delve into the realm of cyborging?
Just, I mean, if it's applicable.
I think it is applicable, yeah. And
so wait, hold on. So you're saying that for certain species, you would sacrifice your life to save them?
Yes, because I do have a strong instinct for self-sacrifice, and I think so do you in a sense, or at least a part of you wants to be given the option of self-sacrifice. Because
hang on, I feel like we should explore this a little bit further. What are the parameters? Say a scientist came to you today and was like, "There's this species of cockroach. It will be off this planet tomorrow."
They're gone.
In my mind, I was assuming like sentient and actually like probably pretty cultural and articulate species. So like, and ideally not an invertebrate. Right. But maybe that's like racist on my part.
So is there an opposite point where you could do the Doctor Who thing of sacrificing all humanity to save another species? Just because we're being kind of dickish to this other species?
Cross the two wires and kill Davros. But I mean, also, I don't know. It's like in some cases, I think I would be much more likely.
No, I wasn't thinking Davros. I was thinking like there's like one episode where he wipes out the Time Lords because he's like, man, the Time Lords are going to kill all humans. It's either them or humans. I choose Time Lords. And I was like, wow, that's something. Like, yeah, they're being dicks and all, but whew.
Well, I mean, all these Sophie choices type things. I mean, at some point, if you have no choice, if you have to make a choice, then you have to make a choice, right? I mean, like, there's no good option, but it's better than like, some alternative where everyone dies if you don't make the decision.
I mean, you are correct in this instance.
So, okay, just sidewalking myself a little bit here.
Okay.
I would sacrifice myself in an array of circumstances, but almost all of those have to have some like accountability thing. Like, I would not be. I would not be an anonymous soul donor, meaning that like it's like you can save like this entire like nation, but no one will ever know. It's like, I'm not fucking doing that.
No. You want to be inscribed on a memorial wall somewhere, like on a big ass plaque. Yeah, ideally like onyx.
The thing is, it's like perplexing because obviously I don't believe in any afterlife or anything, but it's just too galling, the idea of like laying down your life where literally no one is even like processing it.
And your sacrifice going unrecognized and unacknowledged.
Well, I guess like I'm more concerned with like, rather than like the positive elements of like sacrificing your life, I'm more concerned with the negative elements, and that's generally how I actuate. So basically,
you mean like to mitigate certain negative circumstances and choosing the lesser negative circumstance?
No, what I mean is like if I'm going to be embarrassed. Like if somebody like asks publicly, surely you'll save these children. I'll be like, fine.
So you'd like sacrifice your life, but you wouldn't appear naked on national television. like you're willing to do but not the other.
What if you had to fuck a pig live on television in order to save a small child's life? It's not an implausible scenario.
Just kill me now.
Yeah. They did a Black Mirror episode like this where
I know that was
he's definitely referencing that.
Okay, fine.
And also real life, because it turns out that was also real life.
But I like the word accountability there, because that always kind of like worried me about sacrificing my life. Like, is the idea of like jumping on the grenade, but they all die anyways. Just like, what the fuck, I'm dead and it accomplished nothing. Like I do like the idea of like being able to look in or be like, okay,
Yeah, okay.
there's this,
so you want to know for sure
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you succeeded, but you know that you can't because that's not the way death works. But I see your point. Yeah. But you always have to accept that you're not going to know for sure, and that there's probably a chance that maybe your body absorbed a significant amount enough of shrapnel from everything. I mean, come on, even your specific example of the grenade that really like honestly, it's like the different movies we've seen it in. If you ever had the chance to Steve Rogers yourself and sacrifice yourself for your platoon by jumping on the grenade, that's got to be a great way to go. Come on, think about it. And I mean, except for the funeral and cleanup costs. And but whatever. But the point is, in terms of like,
but you know what I mean. Like it's like that sort of nebulous. There's definitely times where you're like, okay, this sacrifice is gonna mean this person will live. Like giving up something. And then there's times when you're like, okay, I can sacrifice myself, and they'll have a 2% chance more of surviving this.
And then it becomes a weirder issue, right? And but the point is, I think there is a significant part of you that wants not just the opportunity to self-sacrifice. No, actually, yeah, I do mean that the opportunity to have some kind of inconvenience, because as we've talked about, this goes back to the Appleseed syndrome, right? Where we want our morals and values to be tested in uncomfortable circumstances, so we know who we are rather than just kind of idly speculating about who we are. Yeah. And this is what you've been fixated with, because you want to actually know who you are, and you want to be thrust into uncomfortable situations in order to be able to prove that you are who you think you are.
Wait, who are we talking about? I'm not looking for more uncomfortable situations.
No. Sorry, I don't mean to be. Well, I'm pointing at you because
I do like uncomfortable situations.
I'm putting at Rusi because this is. I think this has been Rusi's whole thing for a while, and in typical fashion, it finally snapped together, and it all made sense to me when I realized that. Oh yeah, and I guess I'm the same way, in the same way that this comes down to the. I believe in academia, it's called the mighty boss tones problem. You never know what you'll do until you're tested, and until then, you have no idea. And so, Rusi, you want the opportunity to test yourself and find out who you are. And my counter argument
for the record,
to that,
I under no circumstances want the test to involve me having to sacrifice my life at any point.
Oh yeah, okay, all right, fine. So we'll leave you out of that part.
Lower ranked tests, All
right, then you don't get to go to cool person heaven. You just get to go to regular person heaven.
I'm fine with that. Like these are interesting speculation, but I have no desire to find out which way I'd fall. I'd rather live through things.
Okay, no, I mean that's
maybe that's your answer. Maybe the answer is I will never sacrifice my life for a cause. And
living through things is the best revenge, I'm told.
And actually, to be truth, there are no causes currently that I think would be worthwhile or useful or desirable to kill myself over.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm not going to pressure you in that regard, but okay, that's good to hear. I
mean, like all the problems in society are really solvable by people being alive and working to fix them. There's no place where like, yeah, he died for this, therefore this will get better.
Maybe.
Yeah, but these are hypothetical films. But there are
they're all hypothetical.
True. Yes. And
sort of like ideas to think about. But I think the best way to deal with these things is at a certain point, like unless you believe in some sort of like morality.
Do we believe?
We don't believe. No, but the point is, I think all of us are like sort of like amoral, atheistic. We're just sort of living in the societies that we're in, right? So, but at a certain point, you just sort of like you have to like join a group, and like, so we're part of a society that has like certain like base norms. And I think all of us would like do not the minimum, but close to the minimum that is required of us. So like, for instance, like if like, we're on the Titanic and there's only room left for the children on the boat, we're not going to fucking like push them out of the way and be like, out of my fucking way and get on the boat. We're going to be like,
I believe that's called pulling a Costanza, where you like, you trap a lot of people on your way to the exit.
Exactly. So I think all of us are sort of like, you know what, like as a base minimum, we'll do what our upbringing and our society says is the base minimum, and we're not doing it for any moral reasons. We're just sort of like, well, again, let's try to generalize, and let's use more like.
And the only reason to do it is a moral reason.
Because I understand what you're saying, but I don't think we 100% converge on this. And nor do I think that we're all necessarily amoral. But what I wanted to see are your desire to be subjected to inconvenient circumstance in order to be tested. I would say that I understand 100% your desire, but I would counter argue that it's selfish because of your relative degree of comfort. The degree to which shit has got to get bad to actively affect you means that like a significant portion of the world is probably already dead. And so for that reason, I think your desire to want to have your own sense of worth be tested and to be proven for your own sake is in itself too much of a selfish desire to warrant that kind of thing. Where I think it's better to instead want to have your character or metal proven in the grand scenario or the grand gesture. This is the Augustine lesson. That sure, Augustine's great in the event of a zombie apocalypse or like some kind of gang takes over the city. But like short of that, it's like his skill set isn't really required, and he might as well just like be like not addict to people, and that's satisfactory. But in lieu of that, in lieu of the grand gesture, you just have to accept your scenario and accept like the tiny, seemingly insignificant ways over the course of our day-to-day situations that in which we're tested and we're forced to come to a determination about who we are as a person, what we actually believe in and what we're actually willing to stand up for. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to say to you.
Well, I think we're touching on like a shit ton of topics here.
True, but I've been meaning to for a while. But that's my sidewalk portion. But but back to the Lights of Zetar.
Back to the Lights of Zetar.
The Lights of Zetar hit us particularly hard. Anyway, so all the Lights of Zetar wanted to do were survive, but in the end they were denied life.
Yeah. Anyway, basically it was a pretty good episode. It had the horror factor, which I liked, which was
the horror factor was good.
Yeah,
it was well executed.
Yeah, it was just basically that gurgling noise.
Yeah. Primarily that, yeah, and like the optical effects of like the glows over the faces or whatever, but also just like the pacing and the way it was shot and like the zooming in. And I don't know if you noticed, not just the wailing horns, but the double wailing horns.
Yes, I know.
The slow zooming.
Where they had like those trumpets going like kind of thing, and then there was like a pause. And somebody said something.
And they did it again. In case you didn't hear it the first time.
Yeah. So good dramatic music. What else can we say?
I was going to say that.
Scotty's incompetent. There was a scene where she like saw dead people. Like if you looked into her eyeball, one scene it showed like the people dead in the station before they got there, which is good.
I mean, yeah, seeing dead people is cool. I thought
one thing that makes me uncomfortable though.
The living.
No, and I guess being slightly lecherous, it shouldn't make me too uncomfortable. But like, right. just like when like women are like on the medi bed, with that skirt, it's like how can they be comfortable? It's like impossible to be comfortable. It's like
so. I believe what you're experiencing is like actual authentic human empathy, and if it's new, I understand. But yeah, what you're feeling is it's you're uncomfortable and rightfully so because even if you're raised on like 70s Tom Baker era Doctor Who and like a lot of females being taken captive and subjected to like inclined beds, we that was our childhood basically. There was a lot of that going on. And I'm pleased now that you can see see it for what it is, which is exploitational and
all right, easy. But yeah, I thought it was a little bit uncomfortable. I do like the fact, in a limited sense, that Scotty kept on talking about space, as in like space just has this effect on people. Did you buy that from a fucking engineering point of view? No, it's not scientific, but I like the concept that amongst experienced people, it's just become like a bit of an understanding that space just has an effect on people, kind of thing. And I mean, I could understand if it was like stuff like radiation or microgravity or like air density; those are valid things. But all those things are accounted for on the Enterprise. Pretty much the only thing that would be bothersome would be like maybe stale air. Or like recirculated air, or like the vibration or hum of the deck plates.
I think you're discounting the whole being in a small vessel in deep space. To a degree. You're in the middle of nowhere, but it's also big. It's big, but it's also like terrifying. If something goes wrong in space, that's it. You know, like you're
Sure,
you're
yeah. I mean,
surrounded
it's
by
isolation.
nothing but stuff trying to kill you. Like I think that could totally have an effect on someone's
You're outside of
psyche.
the environment. You're completely removed from the environment.
I think that could totally have someone's effect on their psyche. You know, like
Yeah,
I've
no,
even
that's true.
felt it being on like a small sailboat in a storm, and you're just like, oh man,
I hate you.
There's a couple of wires and some fiberglass that's keeping me alive right now, and the wind's trying to kill me. But if I don't keep the sails going, like it's the whole thing's just gonna collapse. Like in the
I don't know
waves
about the wind trying to kill you. I don't think it's personal. I just think
Or
you're,
even-
you're one of many unintended
or even
victims.
like canoeing a few times, where like if you just stopped rowing, the waves are so big it would turn your canoe and flip it. So you're just like, I got to keep going, and you're just like, yeah, there's like this fear of like being surrounded by stuff that is trying to kill you.
It flip you for real.
Yeah, so those are legit explanations. I prefer the less legit one, which is just like the Firefly explanation, where like if you go too far into deep space, you go mad and you become a reaver.
Well, didn't they
I
have?
like that.
There's also the UHF episode of Star Trek, right? When they went to the edge of the galaxy, and as soon as they crossed it, boom, they were like,
Well,
fuck.
I mean, but they did it a couple of times, right? They did it with the Kelvins. They did it with Gary Lockwood. Different parts of the galaxy, but yeah, but they're not considered. Yeah, that was the center, but yeah, still
yeah,
maybe
those space
some kind
rays
of
will get
boundary.
you, man. They'll get you.
But
but
yeah, I found the idea. I like you. I find the idea of like some kind of weird generic or like
just a superstition.
space sickness. It's an intriguing idea, but wow, I don't buy it from a scientific perspective. In this
No,
instance.
it would not be scientific at all. But I like the idea that just like sailors of old, they have a couple of superstitions just for a bit of fun.
Okay,
Will
that
you
I
allow
do
them?
buy because
Will you allow them that?
yeah, that's true.
All right, fine. Let's move on.
Maybe
Just for a
maybe
bit
that's
of fun, they fucking literally killed people over those superstitions.
yeah, but as long as you were abiding by it, as long as you were abiding by the unwritten and written rules.
Some of the imprecise, unscientific language that Spock uses, I like, just because like all these people who are like on board the Enterprise, they're all like scientists and this and that or whatever, but they're all like passionate about their
Fields.
and their jobs, and so so like I just like it when that comes out in the way they deal with their job. So like Spock talks about the aliens being powerfully alive. It's just like
I like his editorializing, but okay, sure. If you want to, yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Some of this stuff stood out for me. I don't know. It's like just the way that in this instance, as indeed a lot of instances, where Bones is able to tell immediately that someone's dead and that there's nothing he can do. And in this, like when they were in Memory Alpha and the woman dies, it's like he said she's dead. There's nothing we can do before ever trying to do anything, let alone even scan her to check and see if she was dead. So I've noticed that a couple times, but yeah, like Bones is really, I mean, maybe that I don't find it hard to believe that's a skill that surgeons pride themselves on, the ability to immediately tell when someone's
Maybe
dead.
he's just super lazy, and he's like, oh no, nah, she's dead, man.
What's the show where the doctor keeps
no.
declaring people dead, but he doesn't actually check? Damn it! What is that?
Is that Zoidberg? Is that Futurama?
I mean, definitely Zoidberg, but also someone else. Damn it! I'm not gonna think of it. Did you? This episode for me also highlights, if I'm to go back to my perennial bugbear of bad user interfaces and bad operating systems, but it really even though I will. Consistently shit on Scotty because he's just unprofessional and in general doesn't show real strength and ability. It isn't really asked to do the impossible in the same way that maybe some other engineers are. But on the one hand, I think it definitely shows there's a lot of skill and I don't know, something artistry maybe that goes into being a transporter chief, because the way they apply the pressure on those sliders, it's like what are they? Why is that? Why are there so many? Why is it such a big wide analog?
Campbell, they make fun of that in Galaxy Quest.
I know, and and it's like, and it's like, it's like, Captain, I can't, for some reason, I can't pull the things. Oh no. That's like, they came, I just had to pull them all the way down to the bottom. That's all. But for some reason, they're always like fiddling with like, tiny, fractional degrees and like trying to get the frequency right. And like, like manipulating the transporter, uh, what is it? It's not a dial. It's not a knob. It's a lever, I guess. Like as though, yeah, it's like as though it's some kind of synthesizer or another analog device.
I get what you're trying to say. I get what you're trying to say, Campbell. But I mean, we have to have humans do something. I mean, what, you want them to just have like a computer program that like runs an algorithm and like finds like the optimum way to like try to clear up the signal?
What I want to do is look at someone performing their job and buy it. And especially when there's specific emphasis put on it, because I mean, I know for years we always ragged on Star Wars for not really having believable UIs, except for like rare instances. But for the most part, that wasn't really even focused on, right? It was in the background; you didn't have to notice it. But in this episode, you see stuff like them, like sustained shots of them like working the controls of the transporter, and then later Spock in his like superstar scene where he's like being a total rock star with like doing the memory banks, even though he's basically just pressing the same like 4 buttons over and over again. But anyway, yeah, it's just bad and not believable UIs. So that's I'll shut up now.
All right, fine. Okay, so I like the clinical way they deal with the reasons that Lieutenant Romaine was targeted, and they keep calling her like especially pliant. And I like it because it's like they've done this in other episodes where they talk about like people's psychological profiles, and I think maybe the '60s was like a little bit of a there was a little bit of an interest and intrigue about basically lie detectors and being able to like assess somebody in a way that would allow you to basically have them totally figured out from a personality point of view.
Fair enough, yeah.
And I it was good. And it was not like they were not like insulting her, but they basically were. They're basically being like, well, this alien species was looking for a doormat and they fucking found one, like.
I mean, it is true. That is an inference you could draw from that. Although I think, their wording made it seem like that she was adaptable. She could learn quickly and that her mind would become like malleable and suitably plastic. So I think, it was a great compliment they were paying her. She was, she had an extraordinary facility that the aliens homed in on. And it just so happened that they used that to co-opt her. But I think it's like it was a testament to her, like her brain's ability. But
yeah, I like it. It made the trying to resolve the problem more interesting when they were breaking it down, as in like what is special about her, and then they had to like analyze her mind, kind of thing.
And the ways they did it were interesting, right?
It was like they're talking about like her parents dying and.
Yeah, they really tried to do a deep dive into like how her formative years would have influenced her like psychologically and her brain chemistry, and also so it's like at one point, at least one shot, this so as to basically focus in on the nature of the problem. There's like a couple shots where the camera just like zooms in on her forehead, so as to indicate it's like with the wailing hordes, like it's like in that forehead, her brain is the problem, and that was like. And again, the problematic way that it comes down to, like in this case, the crisis, the problem that they have to contrive a solution for is in this case, it's like the inconvenient problems of a woman, and
no, Campbell, no. Although they did make her like difficult for no reason, like when she was like being obstinate with the doctor. Was that?
I didn't think no reason, but just not for a super clear reason. I mean, I think I did wonder about that, and I wondered if it was meant to maybe suggest on a certain level that she was paranoid, because she did sense ever since, being taken over by the aforementioned lights of Zetar that she was somehow changed. And that brought about like paranoia and a kind of defensiveness. That's my read. Or it's like meant to be like a dramatic mechanism to force you to more sort of see the situation from her perspective, which is like, and I think her perspective throughout this episode is basically being steamrolled by men who are gaslighting her and basically trying to like, make decisions for her. And no, except for the one final instance of Kirk being like, I don't think he doesn't say this outright, but I think what he basically is like, so aliens, I'm never going to let you occupy the body of this young woman. unless are you into, no, she's not into it. No, I would never allow it. And I think he puts it out there, and like it leads, maybe that's my reading. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, so I liked that Kirk had a solution in mind. Like, so when they were discussing what they could do. So first of all, I like the fact that Kirk took an extra risk for his ship. When he was about to shoot at them, and like he realized it would kill Lieutenant Romaine, he's sort of like, okay, hold on that. I didn't like the fact that everyone was treating this sort of like imminent death with such little concern. Like they went and they had a meeting in like the boardroom, and this thing is like bearing down on them and could kill them all at any second.
Yeah, because that was not a conference room meeting. That was that felt more like a trial. That felt more like an informal investigation.
It wasn't just that. It wasn't
like a Senate subcommittee.
Like they took their foot off the pedal. Like on many episodes in season 1 and season 2, everybody acts like things are critical and imperative when they're critical and imperative. Here in this case, no one did.
It's an unbelievable gear change.
Occasionally, but the thing is, like Shatner is such a good actor that occasionally, like he pours it on. So, like his passion like levels like increased when he was like discussing his solution. He's like, we're all fucked unless we have one chance. You let them inhabit you, and it's a good idea too. Like I like.
Well, I mean, I don't know where he got that from. I don't know. I mean, I can't argue with it because it worked. But apart from that, I do want to argue with it.
Yeah, like I didn't understand exactly. Like maybe I missed the scene where they explained the susceptibility.
No, it makes no sense. It just like
because they knew the aliens were susceptible to something, right?
Okay, yeah. Well, so I didn't think they knew it for sure until they tried it, but.
Well, hold on a second. So maybe they knew that.
Sorry.
And maybe that's why Kirk was like, invite them into your body wholesale, and then we'll like throw you into like an airlock and like push you out into space or whatever. Which is fine. They didn't. I don't think they had the breadcrumbs leading up to how he knew it was going to be so advantageous. But I did like the fact that it was a solution, because like right now the aliens are out there. If they force their way in, they can kill everybody. So he's just sort of like let them in. At least then we can control it. And it's good. So it was a good solution. I liked it.
I mean, again, like I said, I can't argue with it because technically it did work. But I think in this instance, he pulled a homer and like absolutely succeeded through not inaction, but like through completely, arbitrary and not reasoned action. Because again, I think he was like his assertions were spurious, and why he thought that there would be any advantage to drawing all of them into her. And then, I understand it from a chicken and eggs and basket perspective, but not, how that makes the situation any better, because he's still in the situation of, it's like, okay, well, now you've got them contained in her, are you going to kill her or, what? And obviously they didn't, they found a nice way to gently exercise them.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing, right? And it's like, I understand from a space show, it's like, whatever, you're trying to show science fiction things. And they showed, the pressurization chamber as seen in the Space Seed. And they showed them turning off the gravity. So she starts floating for some reason. And it's like all like, like Dana Barrett and Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And then they start to increase the pressure in the room. And Kirk at one point, very, very correctly says, it's like too much, and it may harm her, but that's the thing, it's like you can't subject that to like any kind of sci-fi level of uncertainty, because we know exactly what happens when you pressurize humans under certain conditions, because certain historical assholes actually did it, so it's like so they should know exactly from a human perspective what exactly is like safe and not safe in terms of like pressurizing someone.
Actually, I don't really know. I don't know what the pressure limits are.
Well, the point is they have been scientifically determined by well-known Nazi scientists during the Second World War, and I'm pretty sure the data on some level was collected. Although maybe I'm wrong.
So yeah.
By the way, I did like that they had a pressure chamber on the ship. Like it kind of made sense to me that the bends and that kind of thing would be something that space travelers could suffer from.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice little thing to have. I guess like polio would have been big back then, right? So that would be a standard medical thing in hospitals.
Was that true? For what?
I mean, maybe, but I mean that wasn't a hospital thing. Yeah. That was a set creation. I mean,
no, but the idea of having a pressure chamber to save lives, or even to use a pressure chamber to as a medical device probably came up with people's experience with, polio was a big thing back then.
Huh. This is a learning moment for me. I didn't know that it was a treatment for anything.
Yeah. In fact, it was a way for respiratory. Like now we use, like we're putting people on oxygen masks and whatever that cling to their face. But then you would just put them in an entire tank, and it would force them to breathe.
Oh yeah, okay, I can see. Okay, so you can absorb more oxygen if it's at a higher pressure.
But are you for real not? Are you just finding out about hyperbaric pressure for the first time, Rizzy? I just assumed. That everyone is into.
Yeah, who doesn't do that? I have one in my fucking bedroom. Like, forget the sun tanning. High pressured environment for sleep for me.
I mean,
Yeah.
Except for the inherent danger. But anyway. So the Zetarians are like, can we stay over at your house? We already asked our mom, and she said yes. And is it okay if we just crash here in the brain of Lieutenant Romaine? And finally, they're banished. And as far as you're concerned, do you think the Zetarians are gone or dead and gone, or gone and dead?
Actually, they have to be dead because my earlier interpretation makes no sense, that they just sort of flush them out and they could come back and attack any second.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
they must be dead. So yeah, so it seems like they had a problem. They concentrated the problem in one person and they solved it, which makes sense.
If you got a problem, I'll solve it. No, I don't. I can't know the rest.
Check out.
I don't know the rest. Well, the DJ revolves it. Ice. But
it was funny that the Zetarians, when they were talking to Kirk, they're sort of like, we do not want to kill. He says a couple of lines, and then their next line is, "You will all die."
I know. Yeah, it's always
very quickly changed.
That's a thing. I want to refer to it in a derogatory name. I'll have to go back and find the first instance of it, even though I think it's most likely going to be like in
Let's
Doctor Who.
Let's call it the Kirk effect.
Where but I want to name it after an alien, because it's like an alien, an instance where like the aliens initially are perceived to have like, if not benign, then at least understandable motivations. Like, we only want to save our peace, or like our people. I don't know why they have high pitched voices. And then and then only at the very, so like at a certain point, there's like a moral question to be weighed, and you got to be like, should we inconvenience ourselves to save this race? And then at the very end, they're like, no, we're super evil. And so it's like, so it makes it easier as a dramatic mechanism for you to say, no, wipe them out entirely. Genocide, press the genocide button. And that's what they did in this instance. Yeah. Which is and they and so I don't resent them for their genocide in this instance, but I think they should have touched on it. But again, considering the circumstances, I thought the way they ended, again, we need a word for that too. Like the last scene that you see of them, like yucking it up on the bridge before they fade away, and someone cracks a joke, and and he goes doo, 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 doo. Anyway, that was not. I thought the whatever we're going to call that instance in this episode was also was not optimal, and I did not enjoy it. But anyway,
it was okay. You mean where he said that it was such a shaking event when Scotty, Bones, and Spock all agreed?
Yeah, and that was bullshit because it was like it was a dumb joke, and it's like I think it ruined the moment, and he was just being cute and being like, I think he's a jackass, but I also wanted to talk about the mechanism.
Yeah, I don't mind that joke. It was okay. It was not like that painful. What else can I say about the episode?
What about the
I like the fact. Okay, I mean, I like/dislike this. So basically, like the writing was poor.
You thought the writing was poor? I thought the writing was good.
The writing was okay, but I'm taking in one specific element. The writing was poor in terms of describing how they were going to rid Lieutenant Romaine's body of these aliens.
That was non-specific.
It was not really clear, and then also you didn't understand like what exactly is the threat level here. Like what is the deal with this pressure? So normally, I just like the fact that Shatner he knows how to like add a little bit of pizzazz to a scene, so kind of thing. So he's always like an instinct-based captain kind of thing. So he sits there and he leans forward and he's like add pressure, and he's not looking at any instruments. He's not looking at any dials. He's not looking at any vital readings kind of thing. And McCoy is sort of idly saying like, "Oh, you may damage her," kind of thing. And he considers it. He's like, "Continue, Spock." And
I know, and I thought that was like, I think if it was pushed a little bit further, that would be a Simpsons joke, and it would be like,
yes, because
it seems very irresponsible.
Yes, I know, but I mean, because this is what you had to do in these shows where they're for special effects reasons or writing reasons, there was not any like drama. And you just get a guy who's like intense and he gives it drama. And he's like push it to the limit, whatever. And so Kirk,
where you stretch out. Where you stretch out a scene way too long, like in Army of Darkness, where he's telling the archers to let go. He's like, wait, and it keeps zooming in on his finger, and it gets ever closer. The guy's like,
yes.
Anyway, yeah.
So I just appreciate that Liam Shatner is such a hard fucking worker. Like you give him a job, you tell him like go in there. All you've got is like some like balloon animals, and you got to keep those 10 kids entertained for the next hour. He's like, all right, I'm gonna fucking like do the best I can with these balloon animals, and that's what he did. He did a good job with that scene, as good as he could do. And the last thing I'll say about the episode is they it was just funny that they deposited this Lieutenant Romaine on a dead space station with like 80 corpses.
Yeah, they added that too. But I think I don't think she was going to be alone. B, I think they were going to stick around for a while. C, I think definitely at that point the nature of the mission would have changed anyway, because like they weren't counting on all those people to be dead, so those people are going to have to be like replaced.
And I suppose protocol would have been to evacuate the bodies and not just.
Presumably they would clear away the bodies before going back to work. I mean, not only for protocol and dignity, but also for very basic sanitary reasons.
Yes.
Because what with the corpses. But what did you think about the central? Not the central, but like the main, the mechanism behind the MacGuffin in this instance, which was love and the power of love, is that she was able to find her way back to, I don't know, that Lieutenant Romaine was able to. What do you mean no? Because that's what they strongly suggested and inferred, and almost to like an interstellar degree suggested that was like a part of the science at work here. It's like you see, Jim, still like according to science, love is operates on a specific frequency, and I find it a little bit better than Interstellar.
They didn't give it the full Robotech treatment where it can like achieve like actual physicality. Like there was just like
I don't think Robotech is ever saying that. I think it's just drawing attention to the inherent weakness of the asexuality programmed into Zentradi warriors. So it's like it's not that love is the answer; it's just love is the answer in this particular instance because it freaks them out and they sort of wet themselves, and then you can shoot them. That's scientifically that checks out. I think
he's got you the Zentradi warriors,
and
they don't do well with music.
Yeah, the pop music and love and probably like softcore porno. That would probably freak them out too. If you just projected like Blue Nuit or like Red Shoe Diaries on the side of like an asteroid.
Yeah, they never had to resort to the nuclear weapon of of awkward emotions to fling at those those aliens.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's good. I don't want to.
They just got to the surface level, and the aliens were already fucked. Like, this is too disgusting. We're out of here. Jesus Christ, Mom, not in front of me. Jesus. Usual.
It's like the Monty Python skit where John Cleese is just saying embarrassing words like grunties. What was the other thing he says?
Shoe, megaphone, grunties. And it was like Reginald Moulding's nipple. I forget. So we talked about love and we talked about... So do you think...
So long story short, this episode was way fucking better than we thought it was going to be.
Yes, I will concede to that. Yeah, and it had its isolated issues. No? Well, whatever. It's kind of like our big disagreement over Star Wars. It's entirely a question of hedged expectations.
It's just boring. Like it's just nothing actually happened, really.
There's not a lot that happens, but
there was a lot that happened. There were multiple attacks, multiple scenes. There was a scene on the station, scene in the pressure chamber. Scene in the
there was some set changes. Yes. It was stretched out.
There were a lot of like zooming in on the eyes. That happened a lot.
They did, but I mean,
that's important. You need that.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that it did serve a better example in terms of this season as being an episode that relies on good writing to get it out of its core problem, which is lack of budget. You know, that's the core issue that they've got to deal with every time. So it's like come up with a good plot that uses it wisely. The special effects are cheap, and you can like infer cool stuff like where the crew is like, I was just experiencing physical symptoms just now. I mean, you'll have to take my word for it, but like,
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
and-
so,
yeah.
so they did an okay job. They did an okay job.
and at the beginning when Kirk, I don't know, Kirk reaches for his breath, for his throat, because like, I guess, I think it's like, he's the captain, and the Zetorians were like, I guess, selectively neurologically impairing people based on their station to like neutralize their function. And I guess he's the captain. He barks orders, so he was like his voice was denied, right? So he couldn't speak.
That's a possible
like-
explanation.
But for a while, it looked like I don't know. It looked like he was trying to mimic the pain of not being able to breathe. And he looked around. He's like, "What? Are we not doing this? No. All right. No. Are we doing? No. Okay. All right." And then he's like, change idea mid, but again, it's the thing of like trying to have to act your way through like non-specific alien discomfort somehow. So yeah, I guess that's all I got. My last note was "kill me now," but yeah, I guess these episodes make me emotional.
Okay, so what do we got
Well,
next?
hang on. Your last note is "kill me now," and you're telling me it's a good episode. I don't know. I think you maybe blacked out at some point and
No, it's just-
refocused your emotions.
No, I can understand your confusion. No, but I did, I think, on balance, like the episode, but it was just that final scene that pushed me over. That it left a bad taste in my mouth. And for that last microsecond of the episode, I wanted to leave my body, but it was not to be, and I was subjected to it. I don't know. Sometimes the closing episode humor works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they just come off as way too smarmy, and yeah, I didn't think you thought it was a good Shatter episode. I thought it was, whatever.
It's an episode. I mean, he pulled it through more than the other guys. He did more work than Spock or McCoy.
Yeah,
And he
Spock,
obviously did more work than Scotty or anyone else in the fucking cast.
I mean, as usual, our biases are obvious because I thought Spock was the standout, and he did. It's all a question of like doing the most with what you're given, right? Maybe sometimes you only have like 2 lines. If that's the case, it's going to be Spock who takes the cake for like most dramatic reading, And I think in this episode is like when he was doing his like mixing his DJ set on the instruments. I thought that was. I thought that was really masterfully done, and does not in any way reveal a massive crush on Leonard Nimoy.
All right, what do we got next? What's next on the docket?
The next is Requiem for Methuselah, followed by The Way to Eden, and then we're in the final stretch of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or so episodes left until Turnabout Intruder.
All right. That's good work. Back to the Requiem for Methuselah. It just makes me think of Free Enterprise more than
I know.
episode. Okay. All right.
That should be his legacy.
I'll see you mutters next week.
All right, fine. Don't say hi. Okay. Go back to your family. Go back to your family who love you.
All right, let's get it out of here.
All right.
All right. Do the end thing. All right, fine.
No,
Let's
wait, do your thing.
Do it. Do it. All right. Okay, let's do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Non-specific noise.